Hey everybody, this is Nick, my dudes. I just wanted to make this video to talk about my issues with Halo right now, my issues with Halo Infinite right now, things for the future for Halo, and why I decided to stop playing Infinite in general. I've got a list here. I'm not great at writing scripts, so I'm gonna kind of just go down this list. If it sounds repetitive, I apologize. Feel free to always let me know in the comments what you think. But I'm gonna go ahead and get right into this. I'm gonna start with my Halo issues in general. If you've ever been around Halo Twitch or the Halo community in general, the biggest thing, or at least the first thing that I thought of, was the best game syndrome. This kind of plays into something called what people have dubbed anyway, the Halo cycle, where people just kind of argue like, oh, Halo 1's the best, Halo 2 is the best, Halo 3 is the best, so on and so forth. I'm guilty of this. You're guilty of this. You could say you're not. I know you're. I know you are. We all have preferences, and excuse me, some of these Halo games are just so impactful to people's lives. Halo 2 revolutionizing online gaming, Halo 3 being one of the biggest games of all time, especially at the time. Halo 1 bringing shooters to consoles. Halo 4, the start of a new trilogy. Halo 5, arguably one of the most competitive Halo games in terms of 4v4 we've ever had. Halo Infinite, the return to the classic art style with all this new stuff for trying out the continuation of the story from 4 and 5. There's a lot, and yes, these games had their problems, and some of them have more problems than others. Halo 4 launching without Forge at the beginning and a buggy theater, loadouts, and all this other stuff that people didn't like. Halo 5 launching with no social playlists, everything was ranked, no big team. Forge not there. First one with microtransactions. Halo Infinite launching again without Forge, no split screen, just lots of missing features that people wanted and expected to be there at launch. It's really a shame to see these arguments when this stuff is happening, and it feeds into the Halo cycle, which is when Halo 4 came out, people said, "Oh, this game sucks. Halo 3 was underappreciated. Halo 2 is the best thing in the world," or Halo Reach, whatever. It kind of just follows a sequential order. So like right now, Halo Infinite sucks. Halo 5 was underappreciated. Halo 4 was the best thing ever. So that's kind of like the pattern that's going on right now. And really, I think it just shows loss of longtime fans. There's the people who didn't enjoy Halo 4 didn't come back for Halo 5. They didn't come back for They might have come back for Infinite. I don't know. But it's just kind of this wave of people. And Halo, this wasn't such a big deal when Halo was growing from Halo 1, 2 to 3, even to Reach. But as that player base started to dwindle, we start seeing those opinions being touted more, and they're becoming louder and louder and louder. And it's a problem. It's gatekeepy. It keeps people from wanting to play the game. It causes lots of arguments, and these arguments are never made in a way that is conducive to accurate, or not accurate, I should say, to learning why somebody actually likes the game. I, for example, really actually do kind of enjoy Halo 4. A lot of people hate Halo 4, and I say I like Halo 4, and they immediately write off any other opinion I have. But I played Halo 4 much longer than the average Halo player. I have about 30 days played over its lifespan. And the turbo update where they made the battle rifle a 4-shot kill, they put in legendary Slayer BR, was great. I played tons and tons of doubles. There were tons of community made maps. Dev maps were coming out all the time still. We were getting lots of content. It was nice. Halo 5 came out, and I wasn't the biggest fan at the beginning. I became more of a fan toward the middle, and I'm a much more of a fan of it now in the 4v4 aspect. But some people just don't like it because of sprint, ground pound, whatever. They stopped playing before those things got changed in ranked, which is where I spend most of my time. Mentioning that does actually bring me into the next point I want to talk about, is the competitive community versus the casual community. Now, talking about casual and competitive Halo is something that I kind of see both sides to both arguments lately, or at least since 343 took over. The competitive community has felt like they were getting the short end of the deal, but so does the casual community. Halo 4 came out and had things in it that had never been in Halo before. Actually, I should start from the beginning. Halo 1 comes out. It's a great party game, brings shooters to consoles, and there is a growing competitive community with it. It does contain a lot of really nice competitive aspects, but it also was intentionally designed to be more like a party game shooter. It's a blending of the arena style shooter and a squad based shooter. So when you think of it, it's kind of trying to get the best of both worlds. The two weapon system was kind of not widespread as it is now. Halo kind of pioneered stuff like that. And it obviously grew into this competitive shooter that also had tons of people playing because the campaign was great and it was like the hot thing on Xbox. They sold more copies of Halo than they did Xboxes. Halo 2 comes out, it revolutionizes online gaming. Xbox Live, clans, a ranking system, a matchmaking system, which was relatively new, if not the first of its kind, and it just enthralled people. People could talk to each other, they could play for rank, they could build clans, have clan matches, do all of this stuff on their console, which was just like a pioneer of the time. It was one of the first major successes, if not the first major Xbox Live success. Now, there was, even at the time, people who would call Halo 2 noobified. There's a YouTube video still up. I'm pretty sure you can find it if you search it up. It shows a rocket curving to hit an enemy player, and this was touted by Halo 1 elitists that Halo 2 was noobified and not as competitive or as good. However, as a casual player, it was easier to get into overall anyway. There was less things you had to learn to be good. The battle rifle, while in my opinion less skillful than the Halo 1 pistol, was easier to use. It got more people into it. But this is where I would say the first major divide between casual and competitive players kind of reared its ugly head. The battle rifle being a 4-shot kill, it was the MLG starting weapon for the majority of things. In matchmaking, people would argue about whether SMG starts or battle rifle starts were better. Obviously, it came down to a general feel of whether you liked competitive or not so competitive Halo. The argument was that if you started with an SMG, it would force you to move around the map to get battle rifles so that you could take long range fights. The argument against that was if you have a battle rifle and you're shooting people who are spawning with SMGs, they can't really fight back. And it's true, in my opinion. I've played people way better than me, people not as good as me, people the same level as me. The SMG starts never felt like a fair match. It just was who got the battle rifles first and took control of the map, especially on maps like Lockout, because you would have somebody with a battle rifle on the BR tower and where sniper spawned, and the SMG players could just not, they just could not fight back. They would have to do like a 4-man push. No one gets taken down, and their grenades would have to be really good, and they'd have to catch some people by surprise. That was kind of like the flow of Halo 2 and the issue with battle rifles versus SMGs. The approach to solving this and to talking about it from the competitive community and people who liked SMG starts was, well, what if we start with both? And it was more shown that people would just use the battle rifle more. And this is where the seeds going into Halo 3 for Halo competitive is a BR only game. So now Halo 3 is coming out. It's one of the biggest game launches of all time. It's extremely popular. They have changed how the BR works. They've changed how movement works. The BR now has intentional random spread, making it harder to kill somebody from across the map with it. And people argue about this all the time. Really, there is an article by Bungie where they talk about the random spread and how it's random on purpose to make it harder to use at range. This is from Bungie, it's random on purpose. MLG had to go to 110 damage percentage to make the BR usable at range and to make it more consistent, which broke the sandbox. They had to take the shotgun out of the game and put in the Mauler. That's why the Mauler is in competitive, not the shotgun. But this is kind of where the BR is the only gun in Halo argument kind of really took off. There are people who would sit in the matchmaking queue and they would say, let's say like snowbound ARs came up, it would just be veto for BRs, veto for BRs, veto for BRs. That was a very common phrase. I mean, I did it. I know a lot of my friends were a fan of BR starts, not so much. I know all my friends were fans of BR starts, not so much the AR starts. But people liked the AR starts because again, they felt like in Halo 2 that it promoted people to move around the map more. That's kind of where the argument kind of started and where it's gone. And it's kind of in the same boat now. When people talk about Halo Infinite's sandbox, it's, oh, the pros just want to use the battle rifle and that's it, or the bandit and that's it, because there was issues with the mangler. So it's caused a lot of strife in the competitive and more casual leaning community. And this is such a problem, and it doesn't have to be. And it's kind of on the devs' shoulders. During Halo 3, Bungie was not the biggest fans of MLG. They wanted the game to be more casual focused, and that's okay. It's what they wanted, but they gave the MLG players control over their own playlist. And so they made their own settings, they forged maps, they changed the weapons, they come up with their own power-ups because the Overshield had issues, and the casual community got to play. They got their cool custom games, and they got to play in matchmaking with AR starts still in the playlists. There were a variety of playlists that they could choose from. We're going to fast forward past Reach 4 and 5, kind of focus on Infinite, because that's kind of where my biggest issues with everything have kind of come to a boiling point for me personally. The game was not touted as an esport game, but they definitely were pushing the HCS or Halo Championship Series and saying that it was esport ready, which is fine. A game can come out and be esports ready. However, 343, in whatever situation they were in when this game was being made, created a game that launched with, it was, I want to say, like 10 maps total. BTB went from 8v8 to 12v12, which was a mixed response. The only playlists, or there were very few non-ranked playlists at launch. It was like 5 playlists. It was BTB, Quick Play, Ranked Arena, and I might be wrong on the details, but I think there was like one more playlist, but it launched without Team Slayer, which was a big deal. So there was no, like, other than Quick Play, there was nowhere for people to casually play Slayer. And people didn't want to play Quick Play because it had objectives in it. And then the only other option was Ranked and BTB. It was something like that. There might have been 1 or 2 other playlists, but that was it. This is a similar issue that Halo 5 had. Halo 5 launched with no social playlists whatsoever. Everything was ranked. Halo Infinite with some unranked social playlists, but it was missing so many things. It was missing Forge. It was missing Infection. It was missing Griffball. It's still missing Griffball. It was missing VIP. It was missing Juggernaut. We got Juggernaut recently, 2+ years later. It was missing all of these social features. It didn't have a match composer like the Master Chief Collection got an update for just like a year ago or 2 years ago at that point. And it was missing so many social game modes that as a social player, you felt like you were being ignored by 343. You weren't getting all of these things. On top of that, the amount of weapons had decreased from Halo 5 to Infinite. And as a competitive player, that's not a big deal to me. I have a lot of ideas as to what they should do with that, but that's not this video. So they were missing game modes, missing playlists, missing weapons, missing vehicles. Like, all of these things that had been put in for a casual player's enjoyment were gone. And we have not seen any of them. We have gotten a couple more BTB maps. We now have the match composer 2+ years later. We have, so you can play like Social Slayer, but they've only added technically 2 guns, but it's the Bandit and the Bandit Evo. One doesn't have a scope, one does have a scope. So there's not a huge difference in them in terms of like regular casual matchmaking play. So as a casual player, like, it seems like you're not being heard. Like, you're being forgotten because they keep pushing this HCS. HCS is great. We're doing wonderful. Esports is great, but we're not giving you a bunch of stuff for the casual players, like Juggernaut, like King of the Hill. Was it in the launch? It might have been. But there was just so many missing like game modes. So casual players feel like they're not being listened to because this quote unquote esports ready game has basically 2 ranked playlists and seems to have gotten all the focus on the maps as well. Now, on the flip side, ranked Halo Infinite at the beginning was decently well made for the competitive community. We had enough maps for a good series. They were slightly varied. There was several game modes. There was a ranking system, albeit we felt was incomplete because there was no and is still no champ rank. If you look at it as a casual player, the Halo Championship Series, for the competitive players, they've got all this money, they've got all of these maps, they've got all this stuff that they need to succeed. They don't have Forge, but neither does the casual community. But they have everything they need. The 4v4 competitive crowd has everything they need from the gate, minus like a few quality of life things, like a better theater mode and Forge, and a few game types to edit and try out. Casual community is stuck with just these few things, and so they don't feel heard or listened to. But there was an argument very soon after the game came out. We started getting updates to the game. There was a lull in content, and ever since the beginning of the game, the competitive side feels less listened to. There's been updates with there's been very, very little in terms of meta defining changes to weapon balance, and it's an issue. Game gets stale. We've gotten a few new maps. I think we've got Catalyst, we've gotten Forbidden, we've gotten Argyle. Oh, and we've got Intermission, which is the rig from Halo 5, and we got 2 more on the way. Oh, and we got the Pit. I think to explain why the competitive community feels so unheard is because after season 1, there was a not a huge, but a pretty strong push to get a major change to the game to keep it fresh, to make it feel new, to do all this stuff. And 343 didn't do it. They added some maps, they changed some locations of items around, but that was it. That was kind of the majority of the changes. On the casual side, what we saw was that they were starting to finally put in things for the casual community: PTB maps, better battle passes, game types. I believe Infection came that year. It might have been the next year. It's a little fuzzy. But since the initial part of Halo Infinite coming out, there's been a lot of this, this game is only for the comp kids, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, this game is so casual, blah, blah, blah. Because of game mechanics and this content that is coming out, and the lack of hearing of what seems to be 343 not listening to the pro community. They asked for a new gun. They got a new gun. It's the only new gun that they've put in the game so far, and they want some changes for it for only the ranked version. But like when the Mangler was in, because the Mangler was a one-shot beatdown, so you'd shoot somebody once, melee them, and they would die. It was changed slightly to be 2 shots and a beatdown for a while, and it was taken out of comp play, which was not what the pros wanted. The pros either wanted it taken out completely. They didn't want it to be nerfed. They just didn't want it in comp play. The casual community got mad, and it's maybe a subsect. It may just be it's definitely another case of just like the loudest voices are the ones that are heard. It's the same on both sides. That the pro community just wanted Halo Infinite to be a BR only game, and that's simply not true. If you go and listen to like Lucid talk about it, or Snakebite, they've talked about like wanting to keep like the commando in, the pistol, the BR, the bandit. They want to keep in rockets. They want to keep in snipe. Try like the sentinel beam, stuff like that. But what happens is the pros are like, hey, we don't want to play with manglers. The casual community says, oh, they just want to play BRs only, blah, 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 blah. Lo and behold, instead of just taking it out of competitive play, 343 just nerfs it. They change it completely. It's now a 2-shot beatdown. It doesn't have its identity anymore. Not really. The voices of the casual community are, at the time especially, justifiably upset because they haven't gotten any new guns, minus what's already there. There's significantly less stuff in the game than there was in Halo 5 at the time of Infinite's release. They have very few maps. They're missing tons of game modes. So the Mangler was kind of like a rallying point. Why should we lose the Mangler's ability to one-shot melee as well as when we don't have all this other stuff? And that is just like one of the biggest issues that's kind of facing the game right now, is the casual versus competitive arguments. I rambled a little bit, I know, but I just needed to make sure I stressed how this has kind of become such a big problem. Now, I don't have the perfect solution. I have an idea of how to solve that issue, and that is we simply have the ranked community in control of the settings. We take out the competitive should focus on this stuff, whether it be BR commando, pistol, sniper, rockets, if that's all they want. That should be ranked only. There should be a ranked version of all of these guns that they can tweak either through 343 or HCS, whoever wants to actually control that. That should be only in ranked. That way, the casual community gets to keep the one-shot beatdown Mangler forever. They don't have to worry about it getting nerfed. It never gets nerfed. They just get to have it. then the ranked playlist can also say, well, we don't want the sword on the map because the sword was on Recharge, and I think it was on Catalyst at one point as well, and people didn't like it because the sword overall is not a great weapon in a competitive Halo. And I stress that because competitive Halo is its own beast. It doesn't need the sword. The sword does not add anything. It doesn't add to the skill gap. If anything, it lowers it. However, I don't want the casual community to not have the sword on whatever map they want. Have swords on Recharge, which is what it was on ranked. That's fine. We'll leave the sword, or we can make it a gravity hammer. We can have two swords for all I care. It doesn't need to be in ranked. There should be two versions of the map on launch, and there should be two versions of the weapons on launch. One with a tag specifically for ranked, and one with a tag specifically for general matchmaking. I think that would make the casual community feel more heard because now they're playing their version of the game, and the competitive players get their version of the game. Now, there should be some overlap. There should be a ranked playlist that has the casual community settings in it. I think that is completely fair because then Halo 3 had something similar and it wasn't an issue. So I think that should be fine. I think that is something that 343 should strive to do in whatever is coming next. But I think it is a very important thing to kind of be aware of as a game developer, especially the new leads, is the issue. Continuing on my trend of like general issues in the Halo community, or that are plaguing Halo in general, are the broken launches of MCC and feature incomplete games. We have all of this steam for Halo Infinite where it launches. 200 something thousand players minimum on Steam, on just Steam, not including Xbox, but there's like 4 playlists. There's no just Slayer, like no team deathmatch as a playlist, which every other game that's a first person shooter has something like that for its players. And it's feature incomplete. Custom games were broken. No Forge. File share wasn't great if it worked at all. So there was no Forge meant like no custom maps. And the custom game options were like but it was also broken. It would crash all the time. There was tons of stability issues too, and like Halo 5 had a similar issue. I said it launched without Forge. It launched with only ranked playlists. Halo 4, I believe, also launched without Forge, or if it came with Forge, there was other issues. It had no theater at launch. I remember that. So all these issues. Halo 4 was the most complete product 343 has ever put out in terms of Halo first-person shooters. But since then, we've gotten less and less and less and less content. It just got so bad in Infinite because they launched a game with like 10 maps. It was missing tons of game modes, and it had very few playlists, but it had stuff in the store for like $7 for the color red. And it wasn't like functionally any different than the red that was in the normal unlocks that you got just by being on the game. Like the free color red and the $7 red were very similar. So they caught a lot of flack for that. And I think that's very justified. It's unbelievable that we got a game so feature incomplete. You couldn't even select your region search, like expanded versus local, which is what we have now, which is in itself a flawed system. You should be able to choose what server you prefer. Like if I live in Kentucky, I should be able to choose the closest server to Kentucky or whatever server I ping the best to. That's just a standard quality of life thing that I think the game should have come with, and it didn't. It just didn't. So it's just so feature incomplete. And I don't want to blame 343's developers, the people working on the game. It's hard not to. I know that their management hasn't been great, but as far as we know, like we don't know. And this is just another issue plaguing Halo that I'm gonna roll into. Is it Microsoft or is it 343? Microsoft has reportedly been really rough to 343 in general, like making them want to, like having them make these things and demands that are unrealistic that also can conflict with each other. They also have hiring practices that are not great. They're mostly contract workers. They can only be there for so long, and once they're there, they can't be like re-contracted for a set amount of time. There's a bunch of really not great things about the contract workers there. Add on to the fact that 343 is using an engine that is older than most of the people that will listen to this video. It's using a modified engine of the Blam engine. Slipspace is just Blam, which was what Halo 1 through 3 were built on, with a ton of Frankenstein modifications. It's old. And it's so spaghetti that the people who are contracted spend most of their time learning how to work on it before anything can be done. So they now apparently are switching to Unreal. So maybe we'll see now that it wasn't in fact Microsoft. It was in fact 343 having to work on this old engine. And I mean, that could be Microsoft's fault too. It could be they wanted a proprietary engine for Halo. They had it technically. It wasn't a great engine. It had tons of problems, and we're seeing many of those problems. But who knows? Maybe it will come out and the next Halo will be on Unreal Engine and it will be great. Hopefully, it's going to have all these features that it should have, but we'll see. I want to give this new team, his name is Pierre Hintz. I might be wrong. I know his first name is Pierre. I'm pretty sure on that. He's the guy who worked on the team that helped make MCC, Master Chief Collection, into a better place. So we're going to see. We'll see how it goes from here. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but for now, the state of which they've left Halo Infinite is kind of it for me, for this game at least. So that's kind of my general Halo issues. I will have some more that I'll bring in probably here in a little bit while I'm talking about why I uninstalled Infinite, which is my next topic. Those are kind of the biggest issues facing Halo Infinite. The community is divided between the casual and competitive players, between classic and modern, because of the quote unquote Halo cycle, because fans are leaving due to featuring complete games or games they just don't like. Like Halo 5 was a big departure from what people liked in Halo 1 through 3. So was Halo 4, and Halo 5 was a big departure from what was in Halo 4. Halo Infinite is a big change from Halo 5. The fans of those games are kind of coming and going, and so that's why we see a lot of the Halo cycle. But some of this stuff does lead into why I uninstalled Halo Infinite early. I played Halo 5 basically up until Halo Infinite launched. It was much more sporadic toward the end before it launched, but I was still playing the game here and there. I uninstalled Infinite. I don't feel like playing it anymore. And this has kind of gotten worse lately. Or what led to the uninstall was this lack of passion from 343, as far as I can tell. As far as I'm aware, and I don't have deep access to confirm a lot of this stuff. I'm going off of what I've learned from other YouTubers and from information in general. The updates Halo Infinite has been getting since I don't know how long, most of it has not been by 343. The maps that came out, the map that came out for Tenrai 4 was made by the community. Juggernaut and Ninjanaut were made by the community. The map before, I forget what it's called at this point, the one that came with the Yappening, was made by a third-party studio, and it looked like somebody's first Forge map with a few extra tweaks. It did not look good. The most recent competitive map is community made. They're coming out with 2 new maps here in a little bit for competitive that will be put in quick play, I'm sure, but are for competitive first, that were community made. Sure, like somebody from 343 like guided those people and told them what they wanted and how they wanted it, but they're community made at the end of the day. And as far as we're all aware, not paid. The majority of the maps in Squad Battle, which is the traditional big team, I believe for the most part are community made. A lot of the new BTB maps are community made. Like all of the Forge maps, as far as I'm aware, are community made. There's some 343 maps in there, I'm sure, but a lot of them are third party or community made. The only thing in the game, as far as I'm aware, at this point, that's since I think January, minus maybe the Spirit of Fire update, is the match composer. It feels so slapped together. The UI is terrible. There's like 40 plus options, and if you just want to play snipers, you have to uncheck like 40 boxes. It's unbelievable that something like that could happen. It feels like a lack of care. It feels like a lack of care for the product that was pushed out and a lack of passion. And that could be because they have had to move on because of Microsoft. They could just be because they've moved on to the next project, which I am sure they have. But it feels so disrespectful to me as a player. It was the last straw for me. I was so excited for the match composer because I wanted to see if it would tone down the skill based matchmaking and let me enjoy the game without having to try every single game. But I don't want to sit there for however long. It could take me 45 seconds to uncheck all of those boxes. It's still like a pain. MCC's match composer works way better. The lack of 343 involvement and over reliance once again on the community to save the game and to get it to where they want it has just left me jaded and not wanting to play. I want to support the Forgers. The Forgers and the community in Halo are unreal. They deserve all of the praise all of the time. These maps look amazing, and 343 made Forge good enough for them to do that, but it feels like they did that so they could rely on the community at this point. Like, oh, we only made 10 maps at launch. Community, can you guys make like 40 maps for us to put in matchmaking? Thanks. So it's just a lack of passion, it feels like, from 343. And with the updates from them being so rare, it just feels like they don't want to work on the game. There is a distinct lack of passion at 343 for Halo Infinite at this point. It is undeniably something that is quite a problem. It's something that we see in how they handle the community, how they've approached content, and how they've approached communicating with the community. There is significantly less contact with 343 in general as a community wide base. And again, that over reliance of the community needs to save the game. It seems that right now, the goal isn't to make Infinite better or to provide something to the players. And it feels like it's been that way since, I'm going to say, the Spirit of Fire update, but from the launch of Halo Infinite till about season 2, no, season 3, it also felt that 343 wasn't trying to get us to have a good time playing the game. They were trying to get us to get on to buy store bundles and battle passes. I bought the battle passes because if you paid for one originally, not the first season, but the second season, I believe, and I could be wrong again, but you could earn enough Spartan points or credits or whatever they're called to buy more battle passes. So I didn't have to pay for any other battle passes up until the Spirit of Fire content update 29 when they got rid of battle passes. The season 4, or is it season 5, the last major battle pass before Spirit of Fire, we had finally reached a point in which the game felt like, okay, we are now not feature complete, but we are at a very good spot. The battle passes are great. They should continue this way. There are 50 tiers now. There's no fluff. We can earn credits to get another battle pass if we are willing to sit there and play. And they had just added Firefight. Infection was still very new. There was a bunch of new things coming out. Forge maps were being added consistently. They were seemingly listening to feedback. And then all of a sudden, after the Spirit of Fire content update 29, it seems like they were either told or decided to pull back completely after hinting at these projects that were coming. So it feels like they got it to a good place, immediately took it away, because after the best battle pass that they ever had, which was season 5, we got the content updates, which took away the ability to earn credits for battle passes. So we went from being able to earn battle passes, enough credits for the battle pass to buy the next battle pass, to only being able to these free content updates that were full with like 20 tiers, and 15 of those tiers were emblems, maybe a color, and then like 5 pieces of armor. And then what felt like the majority of what would have been the battle pass got put in the store. I'm guilty of buying the Spirit of Fire bundle. I will stand by that decision because at the time, while I did not like the change from battle passes to what they were doing, they were seemingly still involved with the game. But from there, it's been like a downhill slide, and it feels like we're back to when the game first launched. We're not getting content. We're getting tons of, oh, buy this stuff in the store. The prices are going up. There's just not, there's barely any new content being put into the game, and it's all being made by the community. And probably, I think I mentioned it already, but the Juggernaut, Ninja Knot, and new map that came with the Tenrai 4 are community made, as far as I'm aware. I believe where I heard that to be accurate, but I'm not. I don't have that in writing from someone or word of mouth from someone other than another YouTuber. So it's just become a like problem, and it's driven away my want to play the game because these updates are store updates, and people are paying for this stuff out of the bundles and buying all these store items, and the game is not improving. It's, if anything, backsliding. The community in the ranked playlist notices this a little bit more, I think, because a lot of people who are still playing ranked are consistent grinders and they're on all the time. I watch Lucid a lot. He's one of the best players in the world, plays for Optic Gaming, and you could watch his stream for 15 or probably like 10 minutes or less than that, not even one full match, and you'll see him get multiple blanks. You'll see him get ghost melees. You'll see weapon jams. You'll see things that shouldn't be happening anymore, or network issues that were supposedly solved with the new update have come back and are either worse or entirely new. So we went from having people dying around corners to these bloodshots and blanks like fairly consistently. Like I'm watching other people play. You'll shoot somebody. You'll see. You'll. I'll watch people shoot other players, and bullets will not count. And the pro players have said, at least a couple of them, and this is again their experience on LAN, was blank shots on LAN, which is unacceptable. If you're playing in a LAN environment, and I know it's not true LAN, it's like a 1 to 2 millisecond of connectivity at these LANs, something like that, because it's not true LAN. But there still shouldn't be blanks, and it's just no word has been said about them. No updates on, hey, we know this is a problem. It's just been radio silence, other than to say that 343 is still working on Halo. That's all we have gotten from 343 in months in terms of actual updates, and not just like community play dates or here's 10 Rye 4, here's the next shop update. The next reason I uninstalled Halo Infinite has to do with the Halo Championship Series as a whole. I am a competitive player. I want to play competitively. I enjoy ranked, but the state it's in is not great. We haven't gotten a new oddball map since the game came out. The map pool is very similar to what it launched as. There's a three or four new maps, as I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. We got the new Bandit Evo, but there's been only a slight tweak to reload speed when many pros have said that the Bandit needs to be overhauled in some other form or fashion, and it just simply has not been. I don't know if that's just because the pros don't entirely agree on how it should be changed, but there hasn't even been an attempt. They left multiple months over the off season between Worlds and the first event of this season of HCS, where they could have tested a bunch of new maps and tested the weapon changes and done all this stuff, and there was no effort, seemingly, at least from a viewer's perspective, that the current pros were involved in any sort of testing like that. And it's been months since then. It's been 6 months since the start of the year. We've gotten the reload adjustment for the Bandit Evo of like 10%. There's been no touching of other weapons that have been consistently complained about or at least discussed as potential problems, like the Stalker rifle or the Shock rifle, in terms of making them harder to use, because currently they are very game determinative in a professional player's hands. They are very strong. It's much harder to no scope with a default, like the regular human sniper rifle. It's much easier to no scope with the Shock rifle, and if you hit, it kills. The Stalker rifle is better at hip firing than both of them, but it doesn't have one hit kill, but it still kills very fast. It kills fast, about as fast as the Bandit, as far as I'm aware, from what I've seen and remember from playing. But it has such strong aim assist that it's very hard for players to like outplay that without a thruster pack or something. And one of the biggest things for the HCS team in general is the pros, the competitive players, want the starting weapon to feel like it has a major skill gap, so that they can show off their skills and be able to completely change the game just by using their primary. I've seen, oh, we should have fire rate reduced, aim assist reduced, bullet mag reduced. Any combination of those in general would help with some of the issues that are kind of affecting the game at a slightly higher level in terms of competitive play. Because right now, if you watch professional level play, it's about positioning, which Halo's always been about, but there's also a major issue of what the pros are calling jiggle peeking. It's just where you stand next to a corner and strafe in and out really fast because of the instant strafe acceleration. You're just trying to time it so that your bullet magnetism on your Bandit or whatever gun you're using locks on to the other player and hits them uh, before they can get that timing down and do the same thing to you. And it's a problem. It's not fun. I'm not a high level player. I'm in Diamond, and I don't have to sit there and jiggle peek. That's because the people I'm playing against are not also sitting there jiggle peeking. But I've seen a lot of complaints of people who are in Onyx and just in Onyx saying like, hey, like there's a ton. It's just jiggle peeking. That's what a lot of people do. There's been no changes to the weapons that make the game more fun, and it's consistently gotten not as fun in general for most players at this point. That's why we're seeing a decline in player retention. Again, we're losing players. I know the Steam charts aren't the whole population, but it's consistently going down. It shows a trend that is not good. It's concerning, and with the amount of money that people are playing for, and HCS not being so forward with potential updates, lack of public communication. It doesn't even have to be they make the updates every month. It could just be like, hey, like we hear this updates, we're doing some internal testing. We'll have a test playlist out next week or something, or in as soon as possible. They squander every opportunity of feedback and lull in the season and in the gameplay. So like between worlds, there was no major updates. There was some changes to the maps, but nothing to the meta of the game, as the pros would say. They're playing the same game they were playing 2 years ago, only now they have to jiggle peek more. It's kind of what I've been hearing. So the lack of feedback being addressed, acknowledged, kind of like made me disinterested in HCS because I knew it wasn't going to change much. We were going to see some like cool plays, like cool like overkill sniper kills by Stellar or something, but the gameplay itself was going to be very similar from month to month to event to season. We're nearing the end of Halo Infinite's competitive lifespan. I don't know if this is the last season. I don't know if there's going to be another season, but unless there's like major overhauls, I think we're going to see more players leave because it's so stale. And I think this is an issue on the casual side as well, like the non-ranked side, because there's no new weapons, like I've mentioned. There's no new vehicles. There's some new game modes now, which is great, and Forge has been taking off, which is great. But there is like no changing of gameplay. I don't think that Halo needs to have 47 weapons in the sandbox, but that is a competitive player point of view for me. They don't need 47 weapons to be in ranked, but they can have 47 weapons in quick play Team Slayer. There's no reason to not, other than balancing, but then why would they have it not be ranked if it was all about balance? Just worry about making it fun. And that's kind of like a big issue, I think, that is facing the overall design philosophy of Halo 5 and Halo Infinite. Halo 5 was fun for competitive players. It wasn't the most fun for social players, especially at launch. I think 343 needs to decide what they want competitive to look like. Say, cool, this is the base game. How do we make this more fun? Is it adding more weapons? Is it adding a vehicle? Is it doing this other crazy, let's put portals on the ceiling? Do something that makes players who are more casual leaning have more variety in what they're playing instead of playing the same 10 maps with the same 8 guns. There's more than 8, but you get my drift. And this kind of rolls into my next point of why I uninstalled, and a general issue with Halo Infinite is skill-based matchmaking. I am not a complete denier of the usefulness of skill-based matchmaking. However, I think that the approach that is used, especially in Halo Infinite, and was an issue in Halo 5, is how strict it is. Right now, if I go into the Husky Raid playlist, I have to play like near perfect in most of my games to win. If I want to have fun, I can try not. I don't have to. I can sit there and just play, but like winning is fun. Losing is can be fun if the game is like meant to be competitive and I'm competing to win and all that stuff. But Husky Raid is supposed to be like this fun, casual, like just spawn with a rocket launcher and then spawn with a plasma pistol and you just kind of run at the other team. And what it's happened is it feels now like I'm trying harder in Husky Raid than I have to in ranked. Because if I don't try that hard in Husky Raid, I'm gonna get spawn killed by a guy with a gravity hammer 14 times in a row because there's nothing I can do against the gravity hammer once it's already in mid swing. So it's just not a good look in terms of like overall enjoyment for somebody who doesn't want to be in a sweaty match. If I play what is it, squad battle. I want to call it big team, but it's called squad battle now. I have to play again very well. I have to be pretty positive and depending on the game mode do a lot of objective work if I'm playing an objective. I have this hilarious to me screenshot where I went like plus 40 or something like that in a big team one flag game. I also had, I think, the second most or most flag pulls on my team, and and had several captures. And I was just like, okay, so if I don't do all of the capturing and all of the slaying, I don't win the game. And I want to win the game because I'm in a, like, I want to play big team mode, but I want to win in big team. I don't want to just lose because I'm not, it's just how it is. I don't want to have to play like that all the time to have a competitive chance at winning a game. I also don't want to have to play like that all the time because it gets boring. I don't play Master Chief Collection matchmaking anymore because while it's social and I can relax in there sometimes, if I play like Halo 1 or Halo 2, if I don't put up 30 kills in a 4v4 Slayer game, I lose. And it's not fun to like try to be relaxing and just losing. That's the biggest difference, I think. When I go into ranks, I know that like I'm supposed to be playing like roughly people on my skill level, and while the system is not always the best at it, at least at my level, it's mostly true that I will play games that feel relatively winnable. When I play Master Chief Collection, social unranked 4v4 Team Slayer on Halo 2, I have to play out of my mind because the game's skill based matchmaking has a smaller player base to work with, and it becomes a game. It doesn't become a game of like, oh, we're just playing Slayer. It becomes, oh, I have to outperform the best player on the other team by killing the less good teammates on his team faster than he can do it to mine. Because we could be even. We could trade every single life, and if he's better at killing my teammates than I am at his, which is kind of what it feels like, it's a race to do, he'll win. And it's not fun. I don't like playing like that. I want to just be like, oh, I'm playing social. Let me run around with a brute shot or try to get mangler kills in Halo Infinite. But I won't win that way. I made an alternate account several months ago and went into the Halo 3 playlist, Halo 3 Refueled on Halo Infinite, and just held forward with my assault rifle and just shot my assault rifle because I just wanted to play like that. And I can't do that on my main. It took 4 games before the other team was using callouts, bunny hopping, and playing their lives and playing like it's ranked. It took about 4 games, and from that point on, I couldn't play with just my assault rifle out and have a real chance at winning, even if I just wanted to hold forward and assault rifle people. I don't want to feel like I am throwing matches, and that's what it came down to. It's like I would be like throwing a match if I was playing for fun, and my teammates were put into the match to be the sandbags because that's what the system does in quick play with the skill based matchmaking. And I just have to outperform, or I have to perform well, so I can't just not do anything. And that's what kind of like drove me away from playing social in Halo Infinite and in MCC. Is I don't want to feel like I have to carry every match. I want a variety of matches. I want some games I'm going to lose. I'm not the best player. I'm going to get destroyed, and that's okay. But if the next game I don't get destroyed and I don't destroy somebody, but we win, and then I don't feel like I had to play like lights out, that's much more refreshing. And then if the game after that, maybe we destroy them and I didn't have to try that hard and it was fun. And then we get a variation of those all throughout the rest of the session. It's way more fun. It keep me playing longer, and in general, it makes me want to stay. I stay on, so I see cool Spartans. I want to buy stuff. We don't do that anymore. It's just that's not how it is anymore. It's, oh, you played really well in your first 2 games on. You better play like that for the rest of the night, or you're going to lose and go super negative, and you're not going to have any fun because these guys are going to be way better than you all the time. And that's the issue. That's when I stop having fun in terms of like winning and losing, is when the games start to feel like they are unwinnable. And Halo Infinite system gives you unwinnable games. That skill based matchmaking is really rough when you're, especially if you've taken a break and haven't played for a while, or if you're just trying to, maybe you're just really out of it and you just don't have it in you to lock in and play like you're on game 7 of the HCS World Finals, but the other team is, and you just don't have fun because they're playing that much better than you, and that's what you face all night. Like I said, it's totally fine for it to happen sometimes. It should happen sometimes because those people are playing. They should get games too. It shouldn't be a negative to be trying to win. But it just feels like you get punished in this game for playing slightly above average, or having, like, maybe you get on and you just have the best game you've ever had for whatever reason, and you just get crushed the rest of the night because 343 has this skill-based matchmaking system put in place. I know it's been really rambling. I'm gonna try to end this video with the last few points and try to be pretty structured. Uh, but something that has been happening that I disagree with and has kind of made me very disinterested in the Halo Championship Series is the community seems to rally against 343 no matter what. I do think that 343 and HCS have dropped the ball many times. They do pick up here and there. See the season 3, 4, 5, and the content update 29 Spirit of Fire for Halo Infinite. See the continued additions of stuff into Halo 5. Halo 4 had a consistent stream of updates after the winter it came out, so like 2013, it had like a pretty good amount of updates. Master Chief Collection was launched in a horrible state. It was brought to a workable state, and has when it got moved to Steam and given crossplay, it was put to a much better place to play. So they have done good work for the community. I just think it always comes too late, and so I try not to be too harsh on them. But the biggest issue that they face is the games launching incomplete and or broken. So I think the community takes that a step too far and just really hammers home that issue, and they like hammer on 343. They blame 343 for this. They think I saw people saying that Spartan was getting his ban because 343 doesn't like him, and all sorts of issues like that. So it's just something I wish we were better as a community, including myself, that we didn't rail on 343 so hard all the time. I do think that they have made a lot of mistakes. They have done a lot of things in the past that I very heavily disagree with. At the end of the day, they are people. They could be answering to the demands of Microsoft or corporate in general. So while I am critical of 343, I try to also understand what decisions they are making, and will say like with the Spartan ban, and but I will also say this will tie into my next point actually, is that there is a rumored Halo CE remake coming out. And while I don't agree actually that needs a remake, I think it should just be left. I don't think that it would be successful in 2024 or 2025 or whenever it's coming out, even if you remake it with some changes. I think that the modern day gamer just would not enjoy it as much. Market trends have been toward extraction shooters, one life modes, battle royales for a while. And maybe it would be a good fresh change, but we'll have to see. But the rumors for these CE remake is like adding sprint and clamber, which would completely change how the game plays and how it flows. There are maps that would, depending on how the clamber and sprint work, would be completely broken. And the argument is that, oh, well, Halo needs to modernize. Sprint is a modern mechanic. It needs to have it. And I don't think that they should remake a game and add sprint and add clamber just so that they can. I think that it would be better to leave the game where it is and make a new game. Just make a new game. When you add stuff like that, you stop preserving the identity that the game had when it came out. And it just doesn't respect the gameplay of the original, what people fell in love with. And I think that that is kind of a major issue. Now, I am still very skeptical of the Halo CE remake coming out ever. I think we are way more likely to get like Halo 5 anniversary before we got Halo 1 remake. But that could be a decision that's out of 343's hands and they're just having to deal with it. But I don't want them to remake the game that I love the most, touted as Halo Combat Evolved, the remake. And it's not completely, but very different from what it was originally. Because then it's just a new game. It's not a reimagining. It's a reimagining. It's a new game. It's not the game that I played. Sprint and clamber just would not be good in Halo 1, and I doubt those would be the only changes. Again, I'm very, very skeptical of this even being a thing. But if 343 for some reason is at this point in this video and wants to know, like, well, if you don't want sprint and clamber, what do you want? I want you guys to look into halospawns.com if it's still up, because I know Halo Nade's gone. Halo Spawns shows you where all the spawn points are on the map. We have Forge to do that kind of stuff now, but put a system in for players to walk around and see how their spawns influence their teammates' spawns, because Halo 1's spawn system It's a little different. It focuses on where your teammate is and has a radius and percentages for where you could spawn. Something like that would make the spawn system make much more sense. I think giving a tutorial on how grenades work and a few videos of grenade tricks would be ideal for bringing the game into the modern era. I think that they could also just have like a training mode, like the guys who run in Beachland have. Just have bots that spawn. We have bots in Halo now. You play it in 2v2s or 4v4s. And you leave the spawn points up that tell you where the bots are going to spawn based on where you're standing. I think that that would be a great way to like teach players, hey, if I stand here, I'm going to screw over my teammate, and I shouldn't do that. It makes the game feel better because one of the major complaints about Halo 1 is you die off spawn so fast. It's unavoidable if you play the classic. If you play the classic, it's unavoidable, and would probably be unavoidable in a true remake. But it's just something that those are like two things that I can think of right now that they could do. But they could do other stuff. They could do like remove the delay on jumping. They could change the pistol model to a rifle, and like less people would complain about it because that's a major complaint for some reason. We play a sci-fi shooter, but this pistol that shoots like 50 caliber bullets is too strong. It's just lore trying to dictate gameplay or something. I don't know. It's a problem. But that's kind of it. I'm very skeptical on a CE remake. I just wanted to talk about potential changes and why I'm not thrilled with some of the rumored changes. To wrap it up, I want to talk about Halo in 2024 and beyond. We're a few weeks past, but there was nothing of Halo at the Xbox Game Showcase. There was no trailer, there was no black screen with the Halo music showing the Halo text saying trailer coming soon or anything coming soon. There was no talk, no mention, nothing of Halo anywhere. And I don't know if that's just because 343 is like really like Microsoft is having 343 really clamp down on any news until we have something truly there to show, or if there was truly nothing to show. There's apparently a certain affinity project that's been worked on for a long time. We have no updates on that. It's apparently gone through several iterations, but there's not even enough there for them to put up a trailer saying coming soon for something. So it's disheartening because 343 is pulled away from Halo Infinite and has been talking about, oh, we're working on all these projects. We have all this cool stuff on the way. Certain Affinity apparently has been hiring for a Halo project for months, and there's nothing at the game showcase. 343 is pulled away from Infinite. We haven't seen anything for months. There's no trailer. There's no announcement of an announcement trailer. Nothing. I think that was when I really started thinking of, do I really want to keep playing Halo Infinite? And then I kind of realized I didn't play very much. I looked at the update that had come out or was coming out and realized that it was so bare bones and not 343 made. It was just another store update for 343 to make more money to theoretically pay devs. Who knows? That wasn't going to change the game or update it in a meaningful way. And I just, I'm tired of this cycle that has now become a thing. Because Halo 5, again, had nothing at launch, had some pre-launch updates, had some stuff come out post-launch, and then the last like 6 months, 8 months, or a year or more of Halo 5 was like nothing from 343. And that's kind of where we are now with Halo Infinite. It just kind of compounded with all of the other issues that have kind of been facing the game and the series and my feelings toward it. This is just kind of a little rambly, and I really appreciate if anybody even got this far. I don't know what I'm going to have on in the background. Hopefully, not terrible gameplay. I'll be around playing Halo MCC sometimes. I'm mostly playing Destiny 2 now. I'm playing other games now, and I miss Halo. I miss getting on the game and wanting to play Halo. Looking forward to playing Halo. My friends asked me to play ranked the last time I played, and I was just kind of like, okay. It makes me sad, and I really do want to enjoy the game. There's some cool stuff. I just don't want to play a game where the devs don't feel like they want us to play their game. So if you guys do want to play Halo or see more Halo gameplay, you can always say so in the comments of this video, and I will do my best to play MCC more in matchmaking. Or if you want to play Halo with me, I will play MCC. I will not install Infinite. We can play that. If you guys want to play Destiny, I'll play Destiny. Fall in love with Guilty Gear Strive because it's getting updates and the devs feel like they care about the player base. 343 doesn't feel like they care about the player base anymore, and I think that is kind of like everything summed up that has happened from the division they've drove through for the comp versus casual, the lack of content on launch, the brokenness at launch, cutting support just as soon as we get to the game being relatively feature complete. So we go to these horrible mini battle passes with mostly filler in them. It doesn't feel like 343 really wants to succeed at Halo Infinite. They just want to move on again, like they did with Halo 5 and with Halo 4, and we're just not going to get anything. And I hope, and I really do hope, that the devs at 343 are getting compensated fairly and are being treated fairly. Because I don't really blame the devs. I blame the leadership in general, Microsoft in general. Maybe the switch to Unreal is truly what the series has needed, given that the engine is so old. But we'll see. I am not even cautiously optimistic. If anything, I am expecting it to be bad at this point. I'm just expecting the next Halo game at launch to be bad in terms of either features, content, or gameplay, or all three if we're really unlucky. And I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong because I miss Halo and I think Halo is important. But that's just how I feel. So in the meantime, until we get the next Halo game, I will be playing Destiny. I will be playing Guilty Gear Strive. I will be playing Stellaris now. I will be playing whatever shooter comes out that seems interesting. Maybe X Defiant. Maybe we'll see. But I really do appreciate it. Like I said, if anybody did make it to the end of this video, you are truly either crazy or you just really wanted to hear what I had to say. Either way, I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, morning, wherever you are. I hope that you can find a game that you really want to play, from like Halo. Maybe you really enjoy Halo and you shouldn't keep playing Halo, or maybe you want to move on from Halo. Maybe give Strive a try, give Destiny 2 a try. That's just the long and short of it. Is it's frustrating, and I hope you guys learned something new or found something in here you resonate with. I hope you guys have a good night and a good day. I will be posting more content soon. I know I've said that before. I just have to figure out what I want to post. What game it'll be on, I don't know. Maybe it'll be Black Ops 6. Maybe that's what does it for me. We'll see. But until my next video, I hope you guys have a good time, and I will see you in the future.